Grandma's will had clearly stated that her precious sapphire necklace would go to Aunt Claire. The moment the lawyer read out her wishes, everyone turned to me. You see, I was the last one to have seen it during our weekly lunch, and Uncle Roy was all too eager to remind the room. Whispers and side glances spread like wildfire until Mom suggested a family search party. As drawers were pulled and cupboards were rummaged, Aunt Claire stood silent, a smile tugging at the corner of her mouth. Nobody noticed her slipping away until she returned with the necklace on hand, claiming she had found it in her coat pocket. Gasps filled the air as everyone realized the truth, and Aunt Claire's smirk spoke volumes. Why would she cause such chaos over an inheritance she knew was hers?
Thanksgiving at Aunt Linda's, where dreams go to die and turkeys meet their demise. Grandma's crystal vase, centerpiece of family disputes, had been mysteriously relocated from the mantel to the dining table. Tension mounted faster than the stuffing as Uncle Gary, already red-faced from over-imbibing, declared it was time to divide the inheritance, 40 years too early. Aunt Sue, forever the antagonist, flung a turkey drumstick in protest, narrowly missing the vase. Cue nuclear fallout. As the verbal warfare escalated, Grandma shuffled in, snatched her beloved vase, and announced the biggest twist of all. The vase was a fake. Her actual fortune stored in a savings account no one knew about. Everyone's faces dropped faster than the mashed potatoes Gary accidentally catapulted post-announcement. So, what would you have done with a fake heirloom that caused a real disaster?
Our family sat in shocked silence as the lawyer explained how Aunt Clara's beloved parrot, Percy, was now the heir to her estate. My brother, always the opportunist, immediately began plotting ways to befriend the bird. Over the next few weeks, he mimicked its squawks and tried teaching it catchphrases, hoping to win favor. Meanwhile, my cousin suggested opening a social media page for Percy, wanting to capitalize on his newfound fame. Then it happened. Percy flew out the window during one of my brother's relentless serenades. We all scrambled to find him, suddenly realizing that what started as a quirky situation had turned into a race to retrieve the most bizarre inheritance any of us had ever encountered. Could this have been Aunt Clara's final, twisted gift to bring us together?
In the Evans family, the annual Christmas dinner was more than a tradition. It was a display of everything unspoken. But last year's gathering went down as a memorable disaster, ignited by a single, tarnished silver locket. Ever since I could remember, my grandmother, a whimsical woman with a vast collection of trinkets and stories, declared that her precious locket would go to the one who understood its value. Rumor had it that the locket hid a mystery, a secret about our family lineage that could change everything. My older brother Mark always saw himself as the rightful heir. He was the golden child, the one who could do no wrong. As for me, the youngest, I was often in the background, observing the drama unfold like a Netflix series. On Christmas Eve, the family came together again, this time under a looming cloud of anticipation. Grandma had recently announced she would reveal her decision that night. Everyone suspected it would be Mark, and his smugness could be felt from across the room. The dinner was progressing smoothly until, between bites of turkey and spoonfuls of cranberry sauce, Grandma stood up and cleared her throat. She reached into her cardigan pocket and pulled out the locket, letting it dangle in the air like a pendulum. "I've made my decision," she said, voice quivering with age, but steady with resolve. Mark leaned forward, his eyes glinting with expected victory. "It goes to the one who can truly appreciate it," she continued, looking around the table before finally resting her gaze on me. "And that person is Amelia." The room went silent, time pausing in shock. Mark's face twisted from disbelief to outrage. "What? Why her?" he demanded, slamming his palm on the table, causing glasses to rattle. I was equally shocked, but managed to mumble a few words of gratitude before Mark exploded. He accused Grandma of playing favorites, claimed I had manipulated her, and even suggested I didn't deserve to be part of the family. His tirade grew louder, guests shifting uncomfortably in their seats and casting sympathetic eyes my way. Just as Mom was about to intervene, Grandma raised a hand. This locket belonged to my mother, and it holds the story of every firstborn's mistakes and every youngest child's wisdom, she explained. Amelia has always listened to the stories, not just heard them. She understands their value. Mark's anger boiled over, and he stormed out of the house. The door slamming shut felt like a gavel hitting wood, declaring the end of his reign as the golden child. That evening, as I sat alone with the locket, its cool surface in my palm, I realized the true gift wasn't the locket itself, but the stories it compelled me to cherish. The family hasn't been the same since. Mark's absence at family gatherings is a constant reminder of that fateful night. Yet there's a strange peace in knowing that the stories are finally safe, with someone who values them. Sometimes what is passed down is not the object, but the spirit it embodies. Reflecting on the events, I often wonder, was the locket ever really about inheritance, or was it a test of understanding and empathy? Imagine being in my shoes. What would you have done with the locket and the responsibility it carries?
Our family holiday gatherings are like a carefully orchestrated play where everyone knows their roles, except someone always tries to rewrite the script. Mom, the unapologetic matriarch, fancies herself the director, producer, and lead actress. My brother Tom dares to be the rebellious understudy, while I, the middle child, somehow got cast as the voice of reason, a role I neither auditioned for nor enjoy. This year, Mom decided Thanksgiving would be held at her house. She texted the family group chat, declaring it a potluck and assigning me the dessert because not everyone appreciates creative cooking, and Tom the turkey. Sensing the upcoming disaster, I tried to mediate, suggesting we order a ready-made meal. Mom scoffed. Grand traditions aren't ordered online, apparently. 3 days before Thanksgiving, Tom revealed he had become a vegan. He passionately explained his newfound love for all living things, including turkeys. His new girlfriend, who he met at a tofu tasting, likely influenced this last-minute revelation. Tom's new dietary preference was the match that lit the family drama blaze. Mom, convinced Tom was being difficult on purpose, declared he was out of the turkey assignment. This was not a mere poultry problem. It was an assault on her festive authority. She decided to take matters into her own hands, despite my attempts at reminding her that last year she nearly cremated the turkey. Come Thanksgiving Day, the house was as tense as a soap opera season finale. As we gathered around the table, Mom proudly unveiled what she called the best turkey of my life. But when Tom's girlfriend politely declined a serving, Mom's patience snapped like a wishbone. She demanded to know why one could celebrate Thanksgiving without turkey. Tom, with theatrical flair, launched into a sermon on ethical eating. He punctuated his speech by handing out pamphlets titled, "Turkeys are friends, not food." Mom, redder than cranberry sauce, swept the pamphlets off the table in a dramatic twirl of holiday fury. The climax came when Mom attempted to serve tofu in place of turkey. Tom, in the spirit of peace, said he'd only eat it if it was cooked properly, which it wasn't. Their back and forth escalated into what can only be described as the great turkey toss, with the tofu and some gravy ending up on the walls rather than their intended recipients. The table fell silent. Then, in a turn of unexpected holiday magic, Grandma, who had been silent throughout, stood up and proposed a toast to family disagreements, acknowledging they made our family uniquely ours. We raised our glasses, and just like that, the storm passed. Looking back, it's clear our family gatherings are less about the menu and more about the people. Each Thanksgiving, we rehearse the same drama, yet each time it plays out differently. Maybe it's our tradition. Was it a disaster? Absolutely. Will we do it again next year? Undeniably. Thanksgiving at the Johnsons was always a mix of forced smiles and passive-aggressive banter, the kind that made you long for both cranberry sauce and noise-canceling headphones. Our matriarch, Grandma Sue, had a unique talent for pitting her children against each other, and her yearly will-reading dinner tradition was the cherry on this dysfunctional Sunday. This year, however, things took a bizarre turn. It all started when Grandma Sue accidentally let it slip that her wealth wasn't going to be evenly distributed. "Oh, don't fret. I only paid for one of your college educations," she chuckled between bites of stuffing. This was apparently news to Uncle Frank, who dropped his fork as if it were radioactive. Things escalated faster than the sale of pumpkin spice lattes in September. Aunt Linda, with her usual flair for drama, demanded to know who'd be inheriting the beach house. Meanwhile, Cousin Jimmy whispered to me that he was sure Grandma was fondest of his mediocre landscaping business. She's always said a well-trimmed lawn is next to godliness, he reasoned, as if his hedge-trimming prowess could outrank medical school. The next day, over the pumpkin pie leftovers, tensions hit a boiling point. Aunt Linda, fueled by a mix of indignation and 3 glasses of Chardonnay, produced a photo album chronicling her annual sacrifices. Easter brunch one year, Halloween candy duty the next. I was here every holiday, she slurred, waving a picture of herself at a 4th of July barbecue like it was her emancipation proclamation. The climax came when Uncle Frank, clearly regretting his previous life choices and failed potato casserole, decided to take matters into his own hands, or rather, Grandma's safe. With a flair more appropriate for an action movie than a family gathering, he dashed upstairs, surely ready to claim his rightful heirloom, or at least a guilt-tripped, guilt-free Christmas. Just as we all expected our Thanksgiving to end in a police report, Grandma Sue, calm as ever, announced a new clause she'd added to her will. As it turns out, she said, I'm donating everything to my cats. Well, except the beach house. That's going to Linda's ex-husband, Barry. He always did keep a clean lawn. The room fell silent, except for the sound of shifting chairs and the faint meow of Grandma's favorite tabby. Uncle Frank stopped mid-sprint, deflated, and Aunt Linda turned a shade of red that matched the cranberries no one touched. Reflecting on the slightly disastrous dinner, I realized that our family's not-so-thankful tradition might just be the glue that holds us together, despite the absurdity. Because if you can't argue over turkey and inheritances, are you really family?
Our family was always a tapestry of intricate personalities, woven tightly by the threads of tradition. The heart of it all was my grandmother Eleanor, the matriarch, who in her golden years still managed to single-handedly host Christmas dinners and maintain our sprawling family tree on her own. Her sudden passing left a gaping hole that was impossible to fill. Eleanor's last will was read on a cold January afternoon, just as the winter sun was starting to dip below the horizon. Gathered in her cozy living room, the family waited with a mix of grief and anticipation. We all expected her estate to be divided equally, a testament to her life of fairness and balance. But when the lawyer, a solemn man with a crisp navy suit, began reading her last wish, silence fell upon us like the first snow of the season. Eleanor left her cherished lakeside cabin, the heart of countless summers, to me, her eldest granddaughter. She said it was for my unwavering support during her last years. Here lay the inciting incident, the catalyst that unraveled everything. My cousins, Sarah and James, who often boasted their closer proximity to Eleanor geographically, if not emotionally, looked at me with a mix of disbelief and anger. You never even campaigned for it, Sarah spat, her voice cracking like ice. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of silent dinners and sideways glances at family gatherings. Conversations transformed into battlegrounds, with verbal jabs landing regularly. Must be nice, James said offhandedly over Easter lunch, being the favorite. Things escalated during Mother's Day brunch. My mother, Eleanor's only daughter, tried to keep the peace, but ultimately became a casualty of war. Aunt Linda, always the instigator, accused her of influencing Eleanor's decision. It's all about the inheritance, isn't it? She cried. My mother's gentle nature was no match for Linda's onslaught, and she left the table in tears. The climax came when Sarah threatened legal action, declaring she would contest the will. This was a new low, even for our family, and it forced us all to confront the ugly reality of what Eleanor's last gift had become, an opportunity for division rather than unity. Finally, a family meeting was called at the cabin, the prize that ignited the flame. Standing there in the place that had hosted countless happy memories, I realized what Eleanor had truly intended. It wasn't about the property. It was about preserving the spirit of togetherness. I offered to share it, suggesting joint ownership between us cousins. Resolution came slowly, but forgiveness started as a trickle and eventually became a stream. We agreed to treasure the cabin collectively, understanding that it wasn't just real estate, but a symbol of our shared history. Reflecting on the ordeal, I think Eleanor taught us one final lesson. Love is not something that can be divided or conquered. It must be shared, or it will be lost. So what would you have done if you were in my shoes? Do you think inheritance should always be divided equally, or is there value in honoring specific wishes?
For as long as I can remember, Grandma Lila was the glue holding our family together. Every Saturday, like clockwork, her house became a sanctuary for us. Her home-cooked meals were legendary, and her wisdom, passed in gentle murmurs, was the balm for our wounds. Growing up, my cousin Tom and I were thick as thieves, the best of friends under her watchful eye. Our family, though not perfect, always felt unbreakable. Everything changed the day Grandma Lila's lawyer summoned us for the reading of her will. She had passed peacefully in her sleep a month prior, leaving us with nothing but grief and cherished memories. The family gathered in her cozy living room, each of us clinging to the hope that her final wishes would reflect the harmony she always instilled. Tensions rose when the lawyer announced that Grandma Lila had left her sizable estate to be divided amongst the grandchildren who needed it most. Immediately, whispers filled the room as everyone turned to look at Tom and me. Always the golden child, Tom was the successful entrepreneur, while I had chosen a quieter life as a struggling artist. Grandma's words felt like a dagger, and the air was thick with anticipation. The first escalation came when Tom, with a smug smile, announced that he was certain Grandma meant him. "After all," he said, "I gave her the grandchildren she's always wanted." His boast was met with glares from my parents and sympathetic looks towards me. I tried to remain calm, but my heart was aching. As days passed, the family discussions turned into heated debates. Tom's family, well off and secure, began pushing hard, practically claiming the estate as theirs. My parents, who had taken care of Grandma in her final years, felt the sting of betrayal. I remained silent, struggling to believe Grandma would pit us against each other in her final goodbye. The climax occurred at the next family gathering. My father, usually the peacekeeper, stood up and declared that Grandma had meant for me to receive the estate as a means of support for my art, her true passion. Tom erupted, accusing us of manipulating her in her final days. Voices were raised, tears were shed, and the once warm home felt cold and distant. In a surprising twist, the lawyer called another meeting after discovering a forgotten letter tucked in Grandma's favorite book. It was addressed to all of us, explaining her intentions clearly. "This is not about wealth, but about love," she wrote. "To the ones who keep our family together, my home is yours." She requested her possessions be sold and the proceeds be used for family gatherings, ensuring our bond remained unbroken. Reflecting on this, I realized Grandma was never trying to divide us. Her gift was a test of our unity. Although the process was painful, it brought us back to the essence of family, love and understanding. We might not have solved all our disagreements, but we have started to heal. Do you believe that family disputes reveal true intentions, or do they simply bring out the worst in us?